I never thought I'd be the guy landing a medical helicopter on my front lawn on a quiet Sunday evening, but life has a way of throwing curveballs. There I was, watching my dad, Henry, clutch his chest and crumple onto my kitchen floor, his face pale as a ghost, pain twisting his features. Meanwhile, at the entrance to our pristine neighborhood, the HOA president, Deborah Walsh, stood with her clipboard, refusing to let an ambulance through because it hadn't been properly registered. "Dad!" I yelled, dropping to my knees beside him. His breaths were shallow, his eyes glassy. "Stay with me, okay?" The distant wail of an ambulance siren grew louder, then stopped abruptly. My phone buzzed with a text from my neighbor, Tom. Saw Deborah's blocking the ambulance at the gate. So I glanced out the window, and sure enough, there were the flashing lights, stalled at the entrance, with Deborah VYing her rulebook at the baffled paramedics like she was directing traffic. That's when I made the call. "Steve, it's Ryan," I said, my voice tight. "I need the chopper at my house, saw. My dad's VYing a heart attack, and our HOA president is holding up the ambulance." 10 minutes later, as neighbors spilled onto their porches and Deborah shrieked about property values and unauthorized aircraft, I guided a medical helicopter onto my lawn, the same lawn I'd been fined for letting grow a quarter-inch too long last month. 3 months earlier, I'd moved back to my hometown after 8 years flying medevac helicopters across the country. Dad was getting older, and after Mom passed, he was rattling around in the house I grew up in. I wanted to be close, to keep an eye on him. The housing market was a nightmare, and the only decent place I could afford was in Crest VYEW Meadows, a gated community with an HOA that took itself way too seriously. I'd grown up in a neighborhood where people parked RVs in their yards and painted their houses neon green if they felt like it. So I had my doubts, but I signed the papers anyway. "Welcome to Crest VYEW Meadows," Deborah Walsh said at my first HOA meeting, her handshake as stiff as her smile. Her eyes flicked over my jeans and t-shirt with a look that screamed disapproval. "I'm the president of the association. You want to read VYEW our bylaws?" She handed me a binder so thick it could have doubled as a doorstop. "Thanks," I said, forcing a smile. "I'll take a look." "Do make sure you do," she replied, her voice sweet but sharp. "We take our standards seriously here." I nodded, already regretting my choice. If I'd known what was coming, I'd have bought a shack in the middle of nowhere. The neighbors weren't all bad. Tom and Lisa next door had a Labrador. They sneaked out after 9 p.m. when Deborah was asleep pets outside after 8:30 p.m. VY OLAT Section 12, Paragraph 4. Across the street was retired General Carter, who waged a silent war with Deborah over his hedge height. 2 doors down was Emily, a preschool teacher who'd gotten a warning for letting her students draw with sidewalk chalk. "You'll either get used to her," Emily told me one evening as we watched Deborah measure the gap between General Carter's trash cans with a tape measure, "or you'll lose your mind. Those are the options." My first VY-olation came 3 weeks after MOVYing in. I was mowing my lawn when Deborah's shadow loomed over me. "Mr. Thompson," she said, clipboard in hand, "your grass is nearly 2.5 inches. It should be exactly 2.25." I shut off the mower, wiping sweat from my brow. "You measure my grass?" "Weekly inspections ensure our standards," she said, like that was normal. "Adjust your blade, or you'll face a fine. Also, your mailbox is the wrong shade of blue." "It came with the house," I said, dumbfounded. "Yes, and the pre-VYS owners were supposed to repaint it navy. Yours is clearly cobalt." I waited for her to crack a smile. She didn't. "I'll get right on that," I said, sarcasm dripping. "See that you do," she replied, "Obli VYS. You have 72 hours. It only got worse. I got notices for a VY Cybele Garden hose, Halloween decorations put up 2 days early, parking my car in my driveway too long, and an actual VY, olation and unauthorized wind chime. By month 2, I had 7 citations and was the HOA's public enemy number 1, which was saying something given General Carter's hedge crusade. Things went nuclear when I tried to fix my backyard deck. I'd hired a contractor, Nate, to replace some rotting boards. He'd barely started when Deborah appeared at my gate. "Do you have a permit for this?" she demanded. "It's just a repair," I said. "Same boards, same design." She shook her head. Any external modification requires HOA approval. Submit Form 27B with material specs. The board meets in 3 weeks. Nate whistled. Man, I've worked in strict neighborhoods, but this is next level. I tried reasoning. These boards are a hazard. One broke under my foot yesterday. Then avoid the deck until it's approved, she said, scribbling on her clipboard. I'll need your contractor's insurance and license. Nate looked ready to chuck a hammer. They're in my truck, he said through gritted teeth. I'll wait, Deborah smirked. After she left, Nate packed up. Call me when you get your permission slip. The next day, I got a lot 250 fine for unauthorized construction. Every Sunday, Dad and I had dinner. That week, he was coming over, and I was making Mom's lasagna recipe his favorite. He'd been looking tired, rubbing his chest now and then. Just heartburn, he'd say, brushing me off. Don't start fussing like your mother. But I was worried. He was stubborn about doctors, a trait I'd picked up. You should get that checked, I said as he arrived, noticing him wince again. It's nothing, he insisted. Tell me about work. An krai raskuas. So I told him about a hiker we'd airlifted and the hospital staff's prank war, the house filling with the smell of garlic and tomatoes. We were halfway through dinner when it happened. Dad dropped his fork, his face draining of color. Dad, you okay? He clutched his chest, tried to speak, but no words came. His eyes widened in fear as he stood, then collapsed onto the floor. Dad! I was at his side, heart pounding. His breathing was ragged, his skin clammy. I'd seen enough emergencies to know this was bad. I dialed 911. My father's HOA chest pains and collapsed. I told the operator GIVY my address. I think it's a heart attack. I stayed calm, listing his meds, blood pressure, cholesterol, following instructions to give him aspirin, keeping the line open as I knelt beside him, watching him fight the pain. The ambulance is almost there, the operator said. Then my phone buzzed with Tom's text. Saw Deborah's blocking the ambulance. Saw what? I blurted. Sir, the operator asked. The HOA president is blocking the entrance, I said, rage boiling. I ran to the window, phone to my ear, and saw the ambulance's lights a quarter-mile away, stuck. Tom, I shouted, spotting him outside. Can you stay with Dad? The ambulance can't get in. Tom sprinted over. I've got him. Go. I bolted down Crest VYEU's perfect streets, heart in my throat, straight for the entrance. There was Deborah, clipboard out, arguing with a paramedic who looked ready to ram the gate. All vehicles must sign in, she was saying. This is a 911 call, the paramedic snapped. Are you out of your mind? I roared, reaching them. Deborah turned, unfazed. Mr. Thompson, I understand this is stressful, but rules exist for security. Move your car, I said, spotting her SUV blocking the gate, or I'll move it myself. No need for threats, she said icily. I'm doing my job. The paramedic looked at me. Another way in? No, I said, glaring at Deborah. This is it. Ma'am, move now, or I'm calling the police, the paramedic said. The police respect our protocols, Deborah replied. Section 5, paragraph 3. That's when it hit me. I fly medevac for a VYing. I stepped away and dialed Steve. I need the chopper at my house. Dad's VYing a heart attack, and the HOA's blocking the ambulance. You're kidding, Steve said. Wish I was. How fast? 12 minutes. Clear landing zone. My front yard. I hung up as a police car pulled up. Deborah looked smug. Officer, I'm maintaining security. His father's VYing a heart attack. The paramedic cut in, and she's blocking us. The officer didn't hesitate. Ma'am, move your vehicle. Now. Deborah's face reddened, but she shuffled to her SUV, muttering about the board. Go, I told the paramedics. 1462, Crest VYEW Drive. I turned to the officer. I've called a medevac chopper to my yard. Just so you know. His eyebrows shot up. You what? I'm a pilot. My crew's coming. I'm not risking Dad's life. He nodded slowly. I'll follow and secure the area. Deborah overheard and froze. A helicopter? You can't. Noise ordinances, property values, ma'am. The officer said, stay out of this. I jogged back, the officer trailing in his car, Deborah's shouts fading. At home, the ambulance was in my driveway, paramedics working on Dad. Neighbors were out, drawn by the chaos. Then I heard it. The thump, thump, thump saw of chopper blades. "They're taking him to Memorial," a paramedic said as I burst inside. Dad was on a stretcher, oxygen mask on, eyes open. Vitals are stabilizing, but he needs a cardiac team. "Memorial's the best," I said, grabbing Dad's hand. "Hang in there." His grip was strong. The paramedic raised an eyebrow. "Dispatcher mentioned a helicopter?" "My medevac team," I said. "They're here." "You called a chopper?" he asked, half smiling. "When your HOA blocks an ambulance, you don't take chances." Outside, the chopper's roar grew. We wheeled Dad out as it descended over the rooftops. General Carter was filming, grinning. Emily kept kids back. Tom and Lisa helped the officer clear space. Then Deborah pushed through the crowd, shrieking, "This is unauthorized. At least 15 violations." No one listened. The chopper landed, flattening my grass and messing up Deborah's perfect hair. My crew chief, Martinez, jumped out. "Thompson, what kind of neighborhood is this?" he yelled, glancing at Deborah, now restrained by the officer. "Tell you later," I shouted. "Let's move." We loaded Dad as Deborah waved a citation, screaming about fines and EVY tie-in. The officer pulled her back from the tail, rode her just in time. "You're all EVY Ted," she yelled as I climbed aboard. We lifted off, neighbors filming, General Carter saluting. Deborah's clipboard was raised like a flag of defeat as we banked toward Memorial. Dad made it. The cardiac team at Memorial did an emergency stint, and by morning, he was griping about the food. "Doc says rest for a week," I told him. "No, ignoring chest pains." "All right," he grumbled, then softened. "Ryan, you saved my life." I squeezed his hand. "Just paying you back for all the times you saved mine." The neighborhood exploded with gossip. My voicemail filled with HOA demands for an emergency meeting. My lawn had a flattened circular keeper. Wednesday's meeting was packed. Deborah sat at the board table, papers stacked, looking smug. "We're here to address Mr. Thompson's violations," she began, listing fines totaling due law $4,750 and possible EVY time. I couldn't hold back. "Are you serious?" My dad was dying. General Carter stood. I moved to dismiss all charges. Emily seconded. Hand shot up nearly everyone. Deborah banged Jug. "This is out of order." But a board member, Mr. Evans, a retired lawyer, spoke up. Section 17, paragraph 9. A unanimous vote can override the board. The room roared as neighbors called out Deborah's ambulance stunt. "You blocked my husband's help," one shouted. Another board member moved to vote Deborah out. Hands flew up again. By night's end, Emily was president, promising sanity, new emergency rules, and relaxed lawn standards. Deborah listed her house the next week. 6 months later, Dad was hammering deck boards with Mino permits needed, thanks to Emily. General Carter's hedges were wild, Tom's dog roamed free, and new neighbors moved in. "I'm Chris," one said, shaking my hand. "Medevac pilot like you. Heard about your landing legendary." Dad laughed. "No way." "Yup," Chris grinned. "And our chief flight surgeon bought Deborah's old place." I stared. 3 medevac crew on one street. "Hope the HOA's cool with it," Chris said. Dad laughed so hard I worried about his heart. "Something tells me Emily won't mind." Crest VYEW became a medevac hub. We never landed another chopper, but we knew we could. Deborah? She moved to a downtown Condono Lawns to measure. Sometimes you gotta break the rules to fix what's broken. For us, it took a heart attack and a helicopter to do it. Now, what do you think? Was I right to land that chopper, or did I go too far? Should Deborah face legal consequences for blocking the ambulance? Or was she just following rules? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you felt the drama, and subscribe for more wild stories. Let's get this debate going.